What's up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to NBA Crunch Time. I'm your host today, TJ Zwarch, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, returning champion from yesterday, we got Taylor Smith. How you doing, Taylor?
Doing well.
Yesterday, that was 2 days ago. I'm blending my days together. That was Thursday, but still close enough.
I was willing to let it slide, but that's okay. It's kind of a disaster slate tonight with the Chicago stuff, and there's more. But everyone's dealing with the same player pool, so we'll see if we can navigate it and figure out what to do.
Yeah, just an absolutely absurd amount of cheap value on this slate, most of it coming from Chicago, because half of Chicago's team is out today, and we need not just one, but two of the sharpest minds to help us break it down, because it is a vast variety of value to, what an alliteration with V's there, to parse our way through. Will Priester joining us as well to break it down. How you doing, Chief?
I'm good, man. Another day, another dollar, another good slate. Even if it's a bad one, somebody's still going to win 50K, and on down. So that's the cool thing about DFS. The slate can be nasty. The slate can be pretty. We can feel like it's the best slate in the world. We can feel like it's the worst slate in the world. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, and somebody still got to win. So why not just let it be us?
Very well said. Will, I'll keep it with you first. We got an hour for 5 games. We got lots and lots of time, so we're in no rush. How are you doing? How's life? And give me your overview on today's slate.
Well, my player pool is guys. I mean trim. And when I say trim, I mean this thing is tighter than a 6-pack on a bodybuilder. I mean, I have trimmed the fat, if you will, and I think that's how we should approach this slate. It's a 5-gamer anyway, and I feel like we have a good idea of what's going to happen. I feel like we know where most of the value is. I think you kind of have to decide whether it's good chalk or bad chalk. I think that's the biggest decision in terms of how you want to handle the value. Last overarching thing, how much Chicago is too much Chicago? The right answer is probably 5 is too many. 4 is probably the right answer, but legitimately either could be right. I hope I wasn't talking out of both sides of my mouth there, but that's how I feel like I'm approaching this slate.
I think you nailed it. Like DraftKings Cash, our optimal lineup right now does have 5 Chicago players, but I set it with a limit to 4 for my tournament builds today. Usually I like to keep that at like a 3, but on such a small slate, I do think it is viable to play 4 Chicago guys in tournaments today. Taylor, how about you? What's your thought on today's slate?
Yeah, it really is all about the Bulls' value with several rotation bodies and being. It's going to lead to a lot of guys popping in optimals that you may not want to see. I feel pretty comfortable with 3 of them. I think you can play 4. There is a foursome that I probably would not play together that we can get into in a tournament, at least. In cash, play them all. But in a tournament build, I think I'm leaning toward 3. And then a 4th one would be someone that's lower owned, like Lachlan Ulbrich or Dalen Terry or someone like that, as opposed to playing the main 4 chalk pieces altogether. Muted.
Makes a lot of sense. We will start going position by position here. Starting on DraftKings, we'll go FanDuel second. Then we'll take some questions. If you got questions, get them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. I'll be looking there first, and I'll be going to the YouTube chat second. YouTube, all we ask is that you smash that like button for us. Taylor, starting with you, DraftKings point guard. Who are your priorities today?
Yeah, so Giddey is out. Kobe White's doubtful. Vooch is doubtful. Jalen Smith is out. Trey Jones is still out. Zach Collins is out. So Chicago is going to kind of rule every position. including point guard. Ayo Dosunmu should be the point guard. They don't really have other point guards. They have Javon Carter. They have Yuki Kawamura available. Safe to assume Ayo is going to play the lion's share of the minutes. 5,400 point guard, shooting guard. Really no way around him. I feel like I'm going to play him in the vast majority of my lineups, even into what could be 80% ownership. It's just that good of a. They're playing Miami also, the league leader in pace. And Miami shorthanded. The spread is not that wide. So I'm not really concerned about the Heat blowing them away. Could happen. But with the way the Heat are, it's not necessarily looking that way. So I'm good with Ayo. I think Maxey on the high end. Paul George got suspended. We haven't talked about that, but Embiid, Maxey, really every starter for Philly is going to look pretty good. They're playing New Orleans. The Pelicans are bad and on a back-to-back. So Maxey, if you want to pay all the way up, looks fantastic to me. Jalen Johnson's in, so it makes guys like Daniels and CJ look a little bit worse. I still think they're okay because they are playing Indiana. Great spot for Atlanta. I'm just not excited to play Daniels. I think I'd favor CJ there. In a tournament, though, not any sort of core play. I don't mind Nembhard on the other side of that game. Trey Murphy is point guard only. I think he's fine. I'm really not that excited about the Pelicans in general in this spot, but Murphy's okay. Quentin Grimes is pretty cheap. Could start with the George suspension. He's under 5K. And then in tournaments, it's guys like Amen Thompson, Cooper Flagg. Maybe you can punt with Jose Alvarado, 3,300, Jordan Poole out of the rotation. It's really not that great a position beyond like Ayo and Maxey at the top.
Chief, how about you? Who do you like on DraftKings for point guard?
Ooh, 1, 2, 3. My pool consists of 6 point guards right now at the position. And like I said, man, really tight for me tonight. And 2 of those are multi-positional players. But I do have some Maxey. I elected to keep my Atlanta guys going against Indiana just in case, right, Taylor? It's one of those spots where I don't think Dyson Daniels is going for like 50 or something like that. But man, if he goes for like 42 tonight, it's like he's probably going to be close to optimal unless some of these other guys really just go nuts. So I elect to keep the ownership or keep my exposure to him. I think I'm going to be under the field. Let me check my script here. Yeah, I am going to be under the field slightly. But the main decision I made at point guard was I hit the lock button on AO 100%. And so I'm going to live with whatever his production is tonight. I just think the opportunity cost is too large. So, and I know TJ and I will kind of do this sometimes. It looks like, at least according to our projections, AO's projecting around 70%. I'm just going to elect to go to extra 30 and hear what I'm saying, not what I'm not saying. Punish the field with the lock button. So if he goes for 40, then I've got, a pretty significant score in that spot in every lineup that I have. So that's the approach I'm taking. I've got a lot. I am running 150 tonight. So guys, just so you know, I didn't have anything basketball related to do in terms of coaching today because of this weather we're experiencing. So everything shut down. I'm home all day. So I really had time to not have to play single entry. So I'm going for the gusto. And so AO's getting the lock button. Outside of him, I still like this Indiana-Atlanta game, so I did elect to keep Andrew Nembhard as well. He's 7K, not getting a lot of ownership. I'm just trying to match the field, but I do think this is another guy that could, get us high 30s, low 40s in a spot like this. Elected to keep some Drew Smith on the other side of that Chicago game, just because I do think while we're all gravitating to Chicago, Miami is just in equally as good of a spot. And then I I kept Javon Carter at 3K in the event. I think we had him projected for 19 minutes. I just bumped him to 20. He's the minimum, man. If he gets you 21, 22 fantasy points, that could be huge at the end of the night. And I elected to, let's see. I'm just trying to see if I'm with the field or slightly over. I think I might be with the field on him. No, I'm slightly over the field with Javon Carter. But either way, that's my player pool at point guard. And I think, like I said, it's just I've really trimmed my pool down today.
I had a nice day at home today as well. I started the day, I gave my wife a nice little sleep in, hung out with my daughter for a few hours. We watched some movies, and then they had some outings this afternoon. And so I got some hours into my PS5, and I've been playing I'm almost finished my my first Assassin's Creed game on PS5. I love open world stuff. I love third person role player fighting games, and so I'm enjoying myself some Assassin's Creed right now. But in terms of NBA, I'm going the opposite approach on IO tonight. I have about 40%. So it's not like I'm fading him by any means, but I'm going to be going light to the field. Tyrese Maxey's my highest owned point guard. I got him in 50% of my lineups. Taking some shots on Javon Carter, taking some shots on Jose Alvarado, Drew Smith, and just hoping one of these guys can outscore IO today, but not going the full fade by any means. Still playing 40% of him. Shout out to Derek Ringer in chat saying last game he played was Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the very best video games of all time. Chief, I'll keep it with you. Who do you like at shooting guard? I may be underweight on IO. I'm sure not on Kevin Huerter. I got 80%. He's my highest owned player.
Well, guys, here we go. My second lock button tonight. It is Kevin Huerter. Those are my two Chicago guys I'm pretty much locking in. So I have not locked in any other Chicago guys, folks. So don't worry. You're not just going to hear about the Bulls tonight. But I did elect to lock those two in. I just felt like at those prices and their particular upside or possible upside, I felt like those are my two that I want to roll with. Even though you've got some cheaper guys, I just felt like those guys, I'm expecting them to be productive. Anthony Edwards, tried to get over the field on him in a spot against Memphis, hoping that he could kind of take over this game and really go nuts early. So I bumped my projection on him. I think Anthony Edwards goes for about 50 tonight. So I bumped my personal projection. I do have some Kevin Durant. I'm not particularly sold on Kevin Durant tonight against Dallas, but, with such a small slate and, possible raw points in play, I like to keep him. I kept Kelly Oubre, did play some Pele Larson, which the field isn't heavily on Larson on the Miami side. And once again, I'm talking about it again, where I'm hoping I make up ground tonight is some of these Chicago-Miami game stacks where the field is just interested in Chicago and I'm filtering in, two Miami players. And if the game is tight and those guys do what we're supposed to do, then perhaps I'm sitting pretty at the end of the night. So Pele Larson, and then obviously, you can get Javon Carter, but most of my guys here are outside of Ant are multi-positional eligibility players. But I do like Anthony Edwards quite a bit tonight at 9,300 with all of the value. He's kind of a pillar, if you will. I don't want to say a pillar, but I try to get over the field on Ant, and it looks like I'm going to be well over the field. So pretty excited about that exposure.
All right, Taylor, how about you, shooting guard?
Yeah, hard to get away from Huerter. Shooting guard, small forward, tons of usage. He's one of the few guards they actually have available. So no problem with that. Obviously, you can play IO here as well. Otherwise, it's kind of wide open at shooting guard. I think Anthony Edwards on the high end, obviously great. Memphis on a back-to-back, not a good defense anyway. Could be a little fatigued. KD's good, like 9K. Pretty reasonable price tag on him for the minutes he's been playing. I guess there's some blowout risk against Dallas, but Houston's been kind of playing down to their opponents lately, so I don't think that's a bad option. Good positional on him too. I think Cedric Coward is interesting. Memphis doesn't have, or probably won't have, Jaren Jackson in addition to John Morant and a host of others. He's someone who has had a pretty nuclear ceiling. This is not a good matchup necessarily, and his minutes are generally limited, but he can pile it up. And if he's essentially serving as the number one offensive option, I think Coward in tournaments is a pretty good play. Same for Oubre. He's been playing huge minutes anyway. Now without George, like any of the 5 starters for Philly other than Embiid could theoretically play like 40 minutes if the game's close. So I like Oubre.
Can Oubre just not pull a 37-minute single-digit fantasy point performance for us, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, he can go full Lou Dort on you for sure, but hopefully not tonight against the Pelicans. Yeah, like I think Na is okay, just kind of pricey. Would have preferred it without Jalen Johnson. Javon Carter's fine. VJ, another Sixer who could play 40, not going to be owned at all because he's a little more expensive than the Grimes Oubre duo, but I think he's viable just given the role he should have. And that probably does it for shooting guard.
All right, take us over to small forward.
Yes, they have Herter. You can play here as well. Miami doesn't have 3 starters. They're down Hero, Powell, and Davion. So we'll see if Jaquez starts. Doesn't really matter if he does. The minutes are very strong for him off the bench if that's his role. Small forward, power forward, good per minute guy. Really good game environment against Chicago. That game could shoot out. Chicago could score 40 points. There are a lot of ways it can go, but I think Miami should have success. So I think Jaquez is a good play in the mid-range. Talked about KD already. Sadiq Bey has been playing out of his mind since they demoted Fears to the bench and kept him in the starting unit. This Philly-New Orleans game could go bad for the Pelicans on a back-to-back, but Bey is still pretty light at 6,300 for what he's been doing. So I think he's perfectly viable again. Not a whole lot stands out. Like I think you can play Dalen Terry as a pivot from some of the other Bulls chalk, but Dalen Terry is really not a good per minute guy, so it's not a fun play. Jalen Wells, not super on my radar. Neesmith is okay. Cooper Flagg. Obviously, the upside's there for Flagg. Really bad matchup, but no one's going to play him. So in a large field contest, I think he's okay. And not a whole lot else really standing out.
All right, Chief, how about you, small forward?
Yeah, hopefully I don't pay for this. If I was on the expert survey today, I'd absolutely be saying, it's going to be painful to fade Cooper Flagg, but I did take the full fade. Oh boy, hear myself say that out loud. But I'm going full fade. Houston defensively, I think they limit them. So I'm just putting that out there.
He's projecting for like 4% ownership, so you won't be competing against too many people with him.
Right. Obviously, I'll have tons of Herter. I got a bit more GG Jackson than I wanted, but I decided to live with where I was. Because I think, if he gets 25 minutes, I think he'll be productive. In terms of Jaquez, he's actually a guy I really like tonight. I've got slightly more of him than the field, so I guess I'm going to say it at every position, Taylor. We love Chicago. I love Miami. I love the Chicago side, but I don't want us to ignore these Miami pieces. I think they're equally as valuable. So I do have a fair amount of Jaquez. I do have some Dalen Terry. I'm so glad you mentioned Sadiq Bey, who's virtually unowned tonight. So I'm sitting at my ownership level right now is 16%. That's way more than I need. But, if he goes off for another 40 burger, I should start vaulting up quite a bit if everything else comes together. So the field is off of Sadiq Bey. That's a guy that I am fully invested in tonight. So glad you brought him up. Once again, Pelle Larson and Kelly Oubre still have exposure to those guys. That's who those are some guys at the small forward position.
I'll be getting about 10-15% Bay as well. Really like that call. Chief, why don't you take us over to power forward?
Okay, power forward to me is where it gets interesting. And I'm going to start with someone that's a bit more expensive than the cheap guys, and that's Zion Williamson. The field is virtually not playing him either. And Taylor, I know, TJ, I know, they're playing a much better team in terms of the Philadelphia 76ers. But, man, I feel like Zion's been playing relatively well over this stretch. So I'm well over the field on him. I'm at like 30% Zion Williamson tonight, which is a lot. But once again, it's a 5-game slate. He goes anywhere near 45 plus. I'm feeling really good about that investment. Have a fair amount of Andrew Wiggins. What do you know? A Miami player. Playing some of him, playing some Nikola Jovic, which I was actually shocked that the field was on so much Nikola Jovic. I didn't really expect that as I started building, but the field is, so I'm going to match the field there. I've got a fair amount of Pascal Siakam tonight against Atlanta. That's another game that I think, once again, I don't want to ignore that game. I didn't play everyone in that game, but some of the main pieces, I have him. Jalen Johnson, who's all the way at the top. I'm slightly over the field on Jalen Johnson. Really like him quite a bit. And then I saw Yeezy talking about Buzelis. I just kind of left him for last. I obviously have Buzelis tonight, hoping that he can get the job done. I am over the field on Buzelis. I only hit the lock button on 2 Chicago guys. That was Ayo and Herder, the Red Mamba. No, Red Velvet. I think he's Red Velvet. Red Mamba was actually a guy from the Spurs, but
That's Matt Bonner.
Yeah, Matt Bonner. Thank you.
No, wait, he was Red Rocket.
Rocket. Red Rocket. So maybe
that's not a good nickname.
Anyway, who's the Red Mamba? It might actually be. No, I can't. Somebody dropped in the chat. Who's the Red?
Apparently,
Mamba?
Red Mamba is also Matt Bonner, but like his main one was Red Rocket.
Yeah. Okay. So if somebody remembers the Red Mamba, just drop that. It might actually be Herder, but I think he's Red Velvet. All right, but anyway,
it's apparently I just Googled it. Apparently, Kobe started calling Matt Bonner Red Mamba, but after he had a good game against them, but his main nickname was Red Rocket.
Okay, thank you. Marcus Buzelis, I did not hit the lock button on him, but I am over the field, and then I'm over the field on Patrick Williams as well. Once again, these Chicago guys. This is like the last game of the season where everybody's sitting and they just get to run around and play. And so that's why I am investing in them, but just hit the lock button on Ayo and Herder.
Taylor, how about you? Power forward on DraftKings. And also, what do you think about Alan's question? Is Patrick Williams bad chalk?
I do think he's the one I'm most happy to fade between those top 4 owned Bulls. He should start at the 5. They are down 3 centers, and they have Patrick Williams and Lachlan Olbrich tonight. But Patrick Williams, generally not a great per minute guy. He is super cheap, so he's
Taylor. That's literally it for me, right? He's terrible, but he's 3,300.
Right.
So
yeah, it's hard to get away from that.
Yeah.
Right.
He's at least an NBA player that we know is at least going to try to rebound the basketball. Here's the Patrick Williams line I'm expecting tonight. 8 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, a steal, 3 turnovers. I think that's the Patrick. It's not an exact science, guys, but he's not going to score 20 points, but he could get 22 fantasy points, and at 3,300, depending on how the slate goes, that could be enough.
Exactly. So that's the case for him. I don't think you have to play him. He's definitely the most fragile of those main 4 guys, I think. But he is also the cheapest, so it's pretty useful. So I think Buzelis is great. Just 6K on DK is too cheap. 7K on FanDuel is something you have to think about, but on DK it's kind of a smash. So not fading that at all. I think on the high end, Jalen Johnson's great. I think a lot of people are paying up for Embiid, maybe Maxey, maybe Bam in the mid range. I don't think Jalen Johnson's going to be unowned, but he should be lower owned than Embiid, so I don't mind that pivot. Other than that, I think GG is a pretty good call for Memphis. Without a couple of 4s, he could start. He's cheap. He's not as cheap as Patrick Williams, but he is affordable, and he is historically pretty good per minute also. Tough spot against Minnesota, but not that concerned about it. Maybe Vince Williams if he starts for the same team. Talked about Sadiq Bey. I think Naz Reid is in a really good spot. Memphis gives up a lot of catch and shoot threes, and that's kind of his thing. No one's going to play him at all. It looks like 6,200, reasonable price tag. Great matchup for what he does well. So I think Nas in a tournament is pretty good. And then I like the Zion call as well.
All right, take us to center.
Yeah, so I mentioned Embiid probably being the chalk. He's 9,600. The minutes have been very strong. The Pelicans are also horrendous at protecting the paint. So he should do whatever he wants. He's probably not going to face a lot of resistance, and he gets a usage boost without PG. So it's kind of hard to punch holes in his case. Maybe the game blows out, something like that. He is known to get hurt, so maybe that happens. But
Please
great play,
don't get hurt.
great play, independent of that. Bam in the mid range. We were doing the expert survey today, and TJ was in there at the same time I was. And the question, who are you most concerned about being under the field on? We were both on that question at the same time. And I knew you were going to put Bam. And
I saw
Bam.
that too. I saw that. And you got it in right before me. I was like, Kevin,
Right.
now it's like I'm copying you.
Right. It's a thing we always talk about with him, where his ceiling is kind of not always there. But 3 starters down. The Bulls are a great matchup for centers when they actually have their centers. And tonight they don't. So, 8,300, pretty full for Bam, but obviously there's still a path for him. Jock Landale, 6,400. No Jaren Jackson, no Zach Edey. Tough spot against Gobert, but should have a pretty safe minutes floor, I would think, in that role. I think Gobert in that game is also pretty interesting. The Grizzlies get crushed on the boards without Edey. Again, no one's going to really play Gobert, so I think he's viable in a tournament. Koloko, if you need a punt, should start without a Kongwu, but not a great per minute guy for a big. And, Derek Queen in the large field tournament, always playable, but not a priority.
All right, Chief, how about you? DraftKings center.
Yeah, so I'm hoping this ownership is right on Embiid, because I am close to double the field on him. So I am, Taylor, hoping he does not get hurt tonight, or my lineups are going in the trash. So I love Embiid, have some Şengün. I'm with you guys on Bam. Bam, I just tried to match the field. I am slightly over, like a hair, but I was in the camp. I was like, man, I can't not have any Bam tonight against Chicago, even though in my head he's probably going to score 35 fantasy points. I have to do it. I have to do it. I have a small amount of Christian Koloko just because, I just got to have a thing for cheap centers, Taylor, right? Like, everybody's got their type, and my DFS type is I don't mind fading like a terrible shooting guard or small forward like Isaac Okoro, who I have 0% of in the Chicago game. Want to talk about, so that's my guy, right, Taylor? You said it's Patrick Williams. Mine is Isaac Okoro. I feel no shame in saying he gets 0 shares ever. But man, cheap centers, I can't avoid him sometimes. And so, especially when he's not getting much ownership, I just decided to throw him in just in case. So yeah, once again, my pool's really tight, but Embiid is my main guy. And while the field is playing him, I am about double the field.
As expected, Nikola Vucevic and Kobe White officially ruled out. We'll make the swap here over to FanDuel. Then we'll, of course, get some of your questions in as well after we go position by position on FanDuel. Get them into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. Get them into the YouTube chat. YouTube, I'll be going to use second. Make sure you smash that like button for us. I also want to let you know about Pick Labs. It's the newest RotoGrinders feature that lets you scan the best player props and pick 'em bets in seconds. Everything's broken down for you from edges and win rates to value. It's a clean board showing which plays stand out across sportsbooks and sites like Underdog and Prize Picks. When you see something you like, Pick Labs builds the slip and sends it straight to the book of your choice. You can find it at rotogrinders.com/picklabs, and you'll be wondering how this wasn't a thing already. Taylor got to go first on DraftKings, so Chief, you get to go first on FanDuel, starting at the point guard position. Who do you like over here?
So
Well, surprisingly, not a single player with a positive RG value on FanDuel at point guard.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maxey's more expensive. Flag is more expensive. Thompson is more expensive. So, once again, Nembhard, Daniels, interesting spot tonight. I like those guys just because of the situation. You can still get to a cheap, not Terry. Oh my goodness,
Carter.
Yeah, Carter. Thank you. You can still get to a pretty cheap Carter at 3,800. But generally speaking, man, I hate this position on FanDuel tonight. So I'm just kind of rolling with these 7K guys, and I will just elect to play Maxey over a Flag or Thompson. But Daniels and Nembhard are kind of two of the guys that I'm most interested in.
Yeah, I like Maxey up top, and I don't hate the idea just because it is a weaker position on FanDuel, just punting with Javon Carter as well. Taylor, how about you? FanDuel point guard. Who are the cash plays? Who do you like in tournaments?
Yeah, it's hard to find something to like at point guard, which is kind of weird, but I think overall my favorite is going to be Maxey. Obviously, like he's clearly the high-end play you'd want. I would probably just play him in cash. Playing him with Javon Carter is totally fine if you just want to get out of there like as cheap as possible. I guess you could play Yaku Shonis. He just hasn't really done anything since he's been starting for Davion. McCollum, Nembhard, Amin Thompson, Dyson Daniels if you have more money to spend. I think Cam Spencer is okay, but it sounds like Ty Jerome might play tonight for the first time all season, which might cut into Spencer a bit. And then tournaments, for the same reasons, I think Nas is a pretty good play. I think DiVincenzo with the spot up threes Memphis gives up on FanDuel, where point guard sucks, is perfectly fine.
All right, take us over to shooting guard.
So here's where you can play your Bulls. Io shooting guard only. Herder shooting guard small forward. Kelly Oubre 5,300 without Paul George we've talked about. I think Pele Larson under 5K without 3 starters for the Heat looks good on the other side of that game. Ant, if you want to pay all the way up, 9,600. Good spot against Memphis. Drew Smith is shooting guard only, which is kind of weird on FanDuel, but he is cheap. He's been out playing Yaku Shonis off the bench. Still a pretty good play on the other side of the Chicago game that I don't think a lot of people are going to want to play. So if you need something cheap that's different, I think Drew Smith is solid. Talked about Coward a little bit on DK. On FanDuel, he's 5'9" as well. Shooting guard, small forward, good tournament play. McCollum, Mathurin is pretty cheap. His minutes have been down since he came back, but just a matter of time until they come up. His price is way down as a result of his limit. But a good spot against Atlanta. So if you want to buy low with Mathurin in the tournament, I think that's pretty good. And then Edgecombe, just with the way FanDuel scoring works, generally scores pretty well with 3 points for blocks and steals.
We got Mo Gay starting at the 5 for Atlanta over Christian Coloco. Any interest in him, Taylor?
Yeah, he was going to be the mega chalk the other night, and then he came off the bench, and now it's the opposite. I'll see how he projects. I don't know if we've updated yet, but he's generally pretty good per minute. Probably more so off the bench. I think he's fine. How expensive is he?
4,100 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he is 43.
Yeah, I think he's similar to guys like GG in the low 4s. Just not a priority, but just because we have a ton of other value on the slate. But okay if you land there, but not a great play.
All right. Will, shooting guard position, who do you like?
Still like Anthony Edwards. Once again, I'm a lot lower on Cooper Flag just because of the matchup. Thompson a bit more expensive. So I mean, just okay, not playing Trey Murphy. Still get Daniel, still get Nembhard. I would still be hitting the lock button on Ayo, and then I'd probably just hit the lock button at small forward on Herder instead of shooting guard. Just talking through that. Kelly Oubre is still 5,300, so I'm okay with him. Larson a bit cheaper. Drew Smith 4,300. So a lot of the same guys for me on FanDuel at these two spots so far.
All right, take us over to shooting guard.
Small forward.
Small forward.
Yeah. So Jalen Johnson at the top of the food chain here, 10-7. I'm in on him. Kevin Durant, a little bit cheaper. Once again, just investing because of raw points on Kevin Durant. It's like, do I trust him more than Cooper Flag right now? Yes, I do, because he's on the better team, and this team defensively should take care of business. So like him quite a bit. I know Taylor mentioned Buzelis is $7K on FanDuel. Makes you think a little bit. So probably not as high on Buzelis on FanDuel, but I still think the spot itself lends him to be reasonable enough to invest in him. I think that's the way I want to say it. I'm still okay with Sadiq Bey as a flyer, just because nobody's playing Sadiq Bey today anyway. So getting 10% shouldn't hurt the bank too much, 10 to 15%. Still fine with Haquez, still fine with Andrew Wiggins. Love those guys. Obviously Herter, obviously Oubre, Pele Larson again, G.G. Jackson. Could get him at small forward or power forward on FanDuel. He's another guy that I definitely want to play. If you guys notice, I have not mentioned Fontecchio. I don't plan to play Fontecchio today. He's kind of like one of these other guys that just continually disappoints. I don't mind, Patrick Williams in that spot. I don't mind Terry in that spot. As Flyers, nothing to be overly exposed to, though. But those are my guys. But Fontecchio and Okoro, those are my main two guys that I am going full fade on in that game. I wish Zachary Reese-Shea was probably going to play regular minutes, but I don't see it. So he's a guy that I'm not playing in the Atlanta game, but I wanted to, just can't risk it.
All right, Taylor, how about you, small forward?
Yeah, Buzelis is pricey, but still projects really well. Could lead the team in usage. So obviously better on DK, but still on FanDuel totally fine. There's really a lot to like at the forward spots. We talked about Herter, Jaquez. I don't really care if he starts. I think he's great either way. On the high end, you have Edwards, you have KD, you have Jalen Johnson at this position. All look great to me. I think Johnson's my favorite, but also the most expensive. Larson, Wiggins for Miami. I think Wiggins at 6-1 is probably the one you would want, but Larson is quite cheap. GG for 4-2, assuming he starts, looks pretty good. Even if he doesn't, he's cheap enough to play. I agree about Fontecchio being one of these weaker Miami plays, but in a large field tournament, if he's going to be lower owned than some of the others, it's okay. That's probably it. Talked about Coward a little bit already.
All right, take us to power forward.
So you have Buzelis, you have Jaquez, you have GG, you have Patrick Williams for 3-9, assuming he starts at center. Still a good play on FanDuel. Jalen Johnson, KD at the high end. I like Şengün a lot. Dallas has given up a lot of points in the paint, even with AD in. And now he's out along with Lively still. So Şengün should have a great game in this spot. If the game's competitive, he can win you a slate. So I like Şengün a lot. Looks like he might be a little owned on FanDuel, but don't really care either way. You have a lot of money to spend, so you might as well spend it on him. Siakam's in a great spot. He's cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DK, which is always a sign that it's a great FanDuel play. And the Hawks really give it up without Okongwu, without Porzingis. Like we said, they're starting Mo Gay at the 5. So Siakam should do whatever he wants in that spot. Julius Randle, another one who's cheaper on FanDuel. I think he's fine. Matchup against Memphis isn't great for what he does well, but pretty light 8,100 salary on him, so I don't hate that.
All right, Chief, how about you? FanDuel power forward, who do you like?
Yeah, still like Jalen Johnson. Okay with Şengün. Siakam is definitely one of my favorites. Obviously, can still play KD. Like Bam at 8,300. Still on Zion. Only $300 more. I'm willing to invest there. We've already talked about Buzelis. Already talked about Bey. Already talked about Jaquez. Already talked about Wiggins. I guess we haven't really talked too much about the Indiana guys. If you want to get them in like Neesmith or something like that, I'm perfectly fine with it. Perhaps Mo Gay will creep into the conversation. I just didn't intend to play Mo Gay tonight, and so I'm just going to live with it. And hopefully he doesn't get 30 fantasy points. Still like G.G. Jackson. Still, fine with Nikola Jovic at 3,900. Yeah, a lot of the same guys for me. Outside of kind of the point guard position today on FanDuel, where they were just a hair more expensive, but generally in the other spots, I like the main guys.
All right, take us over to center. Get your questions in. It's almost question time. I'll be going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord first, YouTube chat second. Quiet Discord so far, but a lot of questions popping up in YouTube. Chief, who do you like at the center spot?
So at the center spot for me, kind of the reverse here. So on DraftKings, obviously you guys know I was locking in the Bulls guys, and I would still lock them in here. On FanDuel, though, I'll just lock in Embiid and take my lumps if he fails. And here's why. Every other person I can play at the power forward position. Şengün, Siakam, Bam, these are all guys I can play at the power forward position. So I'm willing to say Embiid is the highest scoring fantasy point player on the slate and just take the lock button on FanDuel and live with the results.
Taylor, how about you? Center spot on FanDuel?
Yeah. Embiid is 10-1, so probably the most expensive he's been all year, but the minutes have been way up. We talked about the Pelicans just being awful in the paint, so no issue with that whatsoever. I think Landale would be the other one who's center only because he's cheaper on FanDuel, but he's Jock Landale and he's almost 6K. So it looks like a discount, but is it really a discount? I think he's fine. I think Bam at 8-3, like we talked about, Bam and Şengün and Siakam, you can all play a power forward. I suppose you can roll the dice on Dominic Barlow, who is projected to start, I think, with Paul George out, but that would just be a large field pivot off of some of the Chicago stuff. I don't really think it's necessary.
All right, before we get to questions, I got a question for both of you, and that is who is breaking the slate? Chief, I will go to you first for this one. Who do you got tonight as your slate breaker?
That's a great question. Man, in my head is Joel Embiid. I think I'm going with Embiid.
All right, Taylor, how about you? Who you got tonight breaking the slate?
Embiid is the answer, I think, but at a little lower ownership, I think Jalen Johnson is a really awesome play as well.
All right, time to take some questions. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. Taylor, last piece, 4,800 or less utility spot in a lineup that already has 3 Chicago players and 3 Miami players for DK single entry. So 4,800 remaining on DK single entry. Let's assume that you cannot use Kevin Huerter because I'm assuming he's already going to be in that lineup.
I think I would say Quinn Grimes would be the one I would probably play. Him and Reed Shepherd, but I think Grimes is a bit stronger.
Chief, Andrew Wiggins or Matas Buzelis? Who you got?
Buzelis.
Taylor, thoughts on TJ McConnell for a DraftKings GPP?
It's kind of thin for the slate, but he is, the epitome of a tournament play with his elements off bench. I don't think I would do it in single entry, but in large field, that's fine.
Are you guys reducing exposure to Koloko now? If so, who's the pivot? Yeah, Koloko is only a guy that I was getting in 3% of 150 lineups when he was projected to start. So off the bench, he is a very easy X button. He's not somebody that should be in the pool anymore. If you're not wanting to switch around any parts of your lineup, yeah, you could pivot to an Alvarado. You could pivot to Patrick Williams. I think you could even, if you're trying to get really crazy, pivot to Ty Jerome. Or Dalen Terry is another option as well.
Let me just say, I am going to keep Koloko, but I only had him at minimal ownership, so I just kind of don't care. That. Hopefully, that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah,
I'm keeping him. Yeah.
DK GPP Chief Larson and Jalen Johnson, or Jaquez and Şengün?
That's a good one. You said Larson and Jalen Johnson or Jaquez and Şengün.
Yeah.
Give me Jaquez Şengün because I just think Jaquez is way better than Larson here.
All right. Let's see. QQ guard 4,100 or less. DK single entry. Taylor, who do you got?
Let's see. Guard. That is if Ty Jerome Paul is probably the one, but that's not like safe at all. And he's 35, I think. I guess Jeremiah Fears, but he's playing a pretty limited role. It's really gross down there.
Will, what are your thoughts on GG Jackson tonight? And then there's a lot of questions about Jovic
like
as well. So what are your thoughts on Jackson and Jovic, and which one do you like better if you're only picking one?
I like GG quite a bit. You said so I like GG, and then you said between him and Jovic.
Yeah.
Give me GG. I think GG just has more upside.
FanDuel Cash, Taylor, you want Embiid and McConnell or Amen and Jock?
I want Embiid. I don't want McConnell. I think Embiid would be the tiebreaker, so I'd still probably side with that. I just think McConnell and Cash is pretty risky.
Another cash question, so I'll keep it with you, Taylor. You want DK Cash, Andrew Nemhard, or Dyson Daniels?
Nemhard for me.
FanDuel GPP Chief, you want Gobert or Naz Reid? A couple questions about Naz Reid, actually.
GPP probably Nas.
Who is your favorite cheap point guard to pair with Tyrese Maxey on FanDuel, Taylor? So they were looking at Yaka Sionis. Who would be your favorite punt on FanDuel point guard?
I think it would be Devon Carter. Just I think he's pretty likely to see 20 minutes off the bench, just given how thin they are. Yaku Shionis would be next, but I think I would play Carter.
Chief, you want Şengün and Flag or Embiid and Zion?
Embiid Zion, no question.
Yeah, I figured that would be the one you're going to there based on the 70% Embiid, 30% Zion. That's your kind of lineup right there. Taylor, this one's a little less fun. You want Okoro or Kispert?
Oh God, I think I just don't think I want to play Okoro into ownership, and it looks like he might get some. Kispert is not starting, but yeah, I guess I would say Kispert. I hate them both though.
Is it okay to play Maxey and Embiid in the same lineup in DK GPP? Yes, absolutely. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You don't even need a run back on the other side. DK GPP, Will, you want Jaquez or Bay?
Ooh. Honestly, for GPPs, I want Bay.
I like that too. DK GPP, Taylor, Gobert or Jock Landale? The lineup already has Naz Reid.
I guess Landale then. Both are great though.
Taylor, on FanDuel, do you mind Easton as a pivot off of Jaime Jaquez?
I think Jaquez is just a way stronger play. I think Tari's minutes are probably not full. He will be a lot lower owned, and we've seen him run it up, but I think Jaquez is stronger even into ownership.
Next question was thoughts on Eason in GPPs on DraftKings. Will, you're running 150 tonight. Is Eason in your pool?
I have 0, but
same with me. I got none of him.
That doesn't mean he's bad. I was just trying to be very selective today, man, with this pool. It's like 5 games. Let's load up where I want to load up and see where I end up.
Chief, pick one: Jalen Johnson, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey.
Love Jalen Johnson in this matchup. I'm still going Embiid.
Taylor, want Jovic or GG Jackson?
Jackson, I think.
Which 2 stars would you build around if you weren't on the Bulls? So keeping in mind you might not be using the super cheap value for the Bulls today, who would be the stars you're looking to build around? He wants 2. So each of you guys pick one.
Give me Embiid. Oh, go ahead, Taylor.
If you're not playing the Bulls, probably, Maxey, I guess. Both are great. 6 stars look really good.
Then maybe you pick up a couple Pelicans guys, put a Zion in that lineup, and you build yourself some a little game stack there. Will Neesmith and Grimes or Bay and KCP, DK single entry?
God. I just can't play KCP, so that's why it's Neesmith Grimes. But if it was Bay and some other 3K person like Patrick Williams or Dalen Terry, I might roll with it.
How would you rank Mo Gay, Patrick Williams, and Drew Smith, Taylor?
Probably Williams, reluctantly Smith, and then Gay.
Any Gobert on FanDuel? Yeah, nothing wrong with Gobert at all. No problem whatsoever. He is a good play on tournaments. DK Cash, Taylor, you want Maxey or Jalen Johnson. And then secondarily, Dyson Daniels or Andrew Nembhard.
Probably Maxey and then Nembhard over Daniels.
Will, what are your thoughts on Pascal Siakam tonight?
Love Pascal tonight.
Going back to you, Will, for a 3v3. Patrick Williams, Pele Larson, Anthony Edwards, or Jaime Jaquez, Dyson Daniels, Drew Smith.
First one.
Eric says, catching up late. Are we playing Joel Embiid and DK Cash? Yes, absolutely. Taylor, can you play Jaquez and Larson in the same lineup?
Yeah, I think you can. They're just really thin, so I don't mind that.
5 minutes left to lock. Get your lineups in and get your questions in. Get them in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. Get them in the YouTube chat as well. Chief 2v2, you want Dyson Daniels and Buzelis or Maxey and Patrick Williams for FanDuel?
Give me Dyson Buzelis.
Taylor, what are your thoughts on Vince Williams tonight?
Yeah, he's kind of sneaky. If he starts, which he could, he'll be a pretty good play. They're pretty thin and on forwards, so I don't mind that.
Will, you want Gigi Jackson or Herb Jones?
Gigi.
Alan asking if we have any priority plays, my friend. That's been what the entirety of the last 55 minutes have been about. Taylor, why don't you give me 3 core plays, and then I'll get the same from you, Will.
Embiid, Io, and Herter, and then Buzelis would be my 4th.
Will, how about you? Who's your core? Who are the 3 or 4 guys you are most looking to prioritize today?
Ayo, Herter, Embiid. If you're going to throw in a 4th, it's probably Zion, maybe. But I would, those 3 I just mentioned, those are my main 3. I mean, I got the most ownership on them over everybody else. 2 of them are lot buttons, by the way.
Taylor, you want Wiggins or Jaquez?
I would side with Jaquez, probably.
Which chalky bull will screw us? I think we all think the most likely option, probably Patrick Williams. Yep. I think we're also playing him, but Patrick Williams, the guy most likely to screw us over. How many bulls are too many? Probably 5. And I still think 5 you can probably get to in DK Cash, but 4 is fine. 5 is too many. Can you play Bam and Embiid in the same lineup? Yeah, those guys have nothing to do with each other. They're in 2 totally different games, so you absolutely can. They don't have any positive or negative correlation between the 2 of them. Mo Gay or Gigi Jackson, Will?
Jackson.
Taylor, what are your thoughts on fading Patrick Williams in a DK single entry?
I think that is a good idea.
DK GPP will Jalen Johnson and Neesmith or Şengün and Gobert?
Jalen Johnson, Neesmith.
All right. Large field DK GPP, Taylor, Şengün or Siakam?
Probably Siakam. Really like Şengün though.
If you're playing 4 Bulls in FanDuel Cash, Taylor, who are they?
Io, Herter, Buzelis, and Williams.
Barlow or Patrick Williams, Will?
Patrick Williams.
Taylor, Edgecombe and Patrick Williams or Bay and Drew Smith?
The second one, I think.
Who is currently showing more projected ownership? Is it Maxey or Anthony Edwards? It is Tyrese Maxey. Was by a much more significant margin a little while ago. In the most recent update, it's only about 8% more. But Tyrese Maxey is definitely projected to be higher owned than Anthony Edwards today. That's it for all the questions. We got about a minute left to lock. Get all of your questions in if you got any left. But what I meant to say is actually get all your lineups in, because we only got about a minute left here to lock. I believe we have all of the injury news we are waiting for. Nothing else other than Andre Drummond is listed as questionable, which isn't something that we care about at all. Last question, then we will get out of here. Taylor, what are your thoughts on Cedric Coward tonight?
I like him a lot. I brought him up on a few occasions. I think he's a pretty good play.
It is the last day of January today, but we'll be back with some more NBA content tomorrow. Show will start an hour earlier than it did today because of the earlier lock time. You got myself, Taylor, and Tim taking you all the way up to lock for an hour. So make sure you tune into that one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. Hit the like button on your way out. Last question, Will, what do you think about Dalen Terry as a pivot off of Patrick Williams?
I'm fine with it. I do think Williams outscores Terry tonight for what it's worth, but I don't mind as a pivot to try to get different. I have exposure to both.
That'll do it. Good luck tonight, everyone. On behalf of myself, Taylor, and Will, we will see you next time. Peace.